sexy people? It is Dave. It is Duncan back from the. Oh my god!
Realising all the videos I'm always like, "Hi" or "me." Oh, fuck you, internet. Fuck you.
We're starting off this video very Scottish.
Starting off fucking hostile, Dave. We stand alone.
Okay.
Vince.
Okay. We are here to chat about the new album from Louisville deep fried doom and roll band She. The band's new album, Pure Disgust, will be released on November 15th.
Now, people are already checking the video or the podcast version or whatever they're doing, so they know the spelling. But for anyone not paying attention, it isn't S-H-E.
It is not.
So
It is S-H-I.
it's a shit minus a T.
Aye.
Aye.
And you can bet your bottom dollar if it's deep fried Duncan, count us in.
Yes, always, yeah.
You will fucking
Scottish.
deep fry anything.
Fry a granny.
So, hailing from Louisville, Kentucky, She has been meticulously cultivating their strain of melodic hostility since 2015, carving an abrasive and undeniably catchy canon of groove into the genre. Thick riffs roll cyclopean and threatening as thunderclouds, while snarling vocals serrate the band's punishing melodies. True to their namesake, the Japanese word for death, She's lyrics bid the listener follow a bleak. I don't know. I copied this from somewhere. I maybe missed a word there. Unlit journey through the sepulchral introspection, misanthropy, and dark humour.
Control C, Dave. Control V. That's all you need. That's all you need to do. You don't have to add words.
I know. I should really know this stuff. On their newest record, Louisville's most punctual band cracks the code on how to effectively have their weed and smoke it too. Drenched in riffs and razor blade vocals, She is still very much She. However, from the jump, there's something a little different. Whether it's the melodious guitar harmonies.
Guitar harmonies. Oh, man. We're stealing that.
The grooving.
That's fucking stolen so hard right now. Guitar harmonies.
The guitar
Oh, Dave. Where have we been?
I know. The grooving rhythms or the sharp drum work, the newest album, Pure Disgust, represents growth on an essential level. It's still the same band that has forged a distinct sound over their near decade together, but is somehow both more refined yet broader in scope. The songwriting is the most obvious beneficiary of this growth. Lord Bale still has his shotgun, but instead of being pressed to his head, it's now sitting on the amp next to him. The album was recorded and mixed by Dave Chale at Deadbird Studios and mastered by Jason Groves at Sneak Attack Recording Company.
You're like when you're just walking in there, he's like, "Is that it? Look at that! Oh, you bastard! Ain't nowhere." Keep you on your toes.
So we reviewed the utterly filth-laden Basement Wizard back
It's so fucking filthy, Dave. It's so filthy, it took a year to clean this room out afterwards.
That was back in 2021. And
It's so stank, I had to have plastic surgery to fix my face back to normal. I was walking like this for a whole year. Like Robert De Niro. Trying to remember lines.
Big Rob. He's all over the social media now.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, let's not get into that. Yeah, that Basement Wizard was a fucking riot. I loved that. Like, I really enjoyed the band's take on Sludge. That was just like equally as miserable as it was entertaining.
Yeah, you can tell that when they're writing the music, they're aiming to make people pull a bit of a stank face but with a smile as well, which is it's usually one or the other. It's never both. So
no, it wasn't an album that was like filled with a ton of surprises, but like as big fans of doom and sludge, like it definitely scratched an itch. And to be honest, like when this album came in, I was kind of expecting the same. Like I was expecting another kind of take on Basement Wizard, which I was cool with, because like they are very good at what they do. However, it seems like in the 3 years between that album and this, she have been deep frying something a touch more, I don't know, aromatic maybe, Duncan. I don't know.
I'm you're opening repressed memories of things here. For during was it during COVID? It might be during COVID. There are whole YouTube channels, right, of people. I'm going to need to send you that. Be prepared to just watch these things and go, "What? Who's he feeding?" Right? These guys down in Louisiana, which I know is not where these guys are from, but down in Louisiana, and they just be like, they have like giant broilers, and they just make massive seafood, like
Right.
but the way they talk, which is like I'm assuming it's put on because they all talk exactly the same, and I like just like out in the garden again. Get a pound of that crawfish, pound that seasoning, y'all. Listen, y'all, this like that, and then they broil it all up, and it got to a point where they were just throwing everything in.
Yeah.
Like you'd be like, oh, they're making they're doing crawfish, that's amazing. Then all of a sudden, like smoky sausage would go in, and you'd be like, do we need smoky sausage? And then, well, of course we do, but and then like
Always.
like sweet corn on the cob, and like just like all this stuff, and then like a fucking metric ton of seasoning and water and all the rest, and then they would just like, woo-ha! That's literally what they were like, but every video was the same, and I couldn't get enough of this because it always looked like there was only 2 of them.
Right.
There was enough food to feed 100. And I just kind of feel like when she go to write riffs, there's only a few of them, but they write them for many people.
Yeah.
It's just like to feed a venue, like
Yeah.
you know, give a man a guitar mini and he will fill a venue. So, but it's in my head now. You've got me like right there with a listen here, y'all.
Yeah.
Deep fried, broiled. I mean, broiling's healthier, but you know what?
Yeah.
I'm Scottish, which means deep fried every time. Every fucking time, dude.
Yeah. And like when I listened to this, I kind of liked that they didn't let the cat out of the bag too early on the album. Like the first chunk of the album is just she like doing what they do best. It's just a tidal wave of kind of groove laden sludge and southern licks and doomy undertones, and like that opening track is so fucking Church of Misery it hurts. Like it is just when that kicked in I was like, oh my god, that is like eye-wincingly heavy.
The track's even called Bastard, which, and like if you're Scottish you're putting in front of that oh yeah
for sure. Oh yeah, bastard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Bastard.
Yeah. But even the bass that comes in, it's got that kind of slight kind of like wah effect on it, which is very reminiscent of Church of Misery. But I fucking loved how this album kicked off. It's just a track that'll make you feel warm inside. Like as soon as it kicks in, you feel like a fucking deep fried Mars bar. You know what I mean? You're just fucking everyone's deep fried on this review. However, the follow up, Dex.
Yep.
Somehow manages to outdo that track. It's slightly quicker in tempo, but that groove there's a groove that kicks in about 45 seconds into the track, and it is just magic. That riff, that I was like in my element. I was like, oh yes, that is my shit. That is my jam, Duncan.
That is my shit.
That's my shit. Just so Moorish, absolutely Moorish. And pretty much every track has a groove or a riff that'll just make you go, like a grimace on your face in the best possible way. Just awesome.
It makes you pull Phil Anselmo face.
Yeah.
It was like, it's like just with a hand in front. You have to have the hand in front of you.
Oh yeah.
Imagining something deep fried.
Yeah, for sure. But there was a moment on Dex where the guitars like get a touch more melodic, and there's like a kind of twin guitar harmony, a guitar-mony.
Guitar-mony, like from now on, Dave. That is, we have to use that, or we're not cool.
But it's got like a almost kind of classic rock like 70s kind of rock vibe, almost kind of like in a kind of Thin Lizzy type way. And when it kicked in, I was like, oh, that's really cool. But then I was thinking back to Basement Wizard, and I'm sure the final track of that album, I think it was called At Wit's End, had a little bit of that, and the guitar's just a little
I think we
touch of
commented on that at the time where we were like, is this a sign of things to come? Or is this just them like flexing on the final track?
Yeah. And this felt like, all right, we're going to kind of expand a little bit more on that and show a slightly different mood, something that's a touch more kind of upbeat. And you can hear it kind of bleed into some of the tracks that follow on throughout the album. Every now and again, like they'll just, kind of pull you out of that misery a little bit and turn up the feel-good vibes just a touch. And I really like that. That switch in tone was really cool, but it's also accompanied by moments that are more varied in tempo on this album compared to Basement Wizard. This album doesn't kind of solely sit within that like slow kind of sludge meets doom tempo. The track pace kind of and choice of rhythm changes from track to track, and it really helps break this album up. One thing I did not have on my bingo card for this album though,
I was waiting to see how long it was going to come up.
Yeah, was a trumpet. I was not expecting this at all. And on Creature Comforts, we get just that. From one of the many guests on this album, Kurt Cummings provides the kind of bluesy kind of trumpet, which it kind of mirrors like the main riff for a section, which is really cool. It's not like a huge lengthy part, but it's just enough for a kind of shift change in the track and a slight kind of change of tone. And it's a nice kind of smooth transition from that into the second half of the track, where we get a bit more lead work and then an almighty crusher of a riff to end the track on. And that isn't the end of the surprises on this album. There are multiple guest vocalists on the album. Blair Yoke, Stephen Cassiato, Josh Flowers, Bruce, Taco, and Suki Dog. All add
Suki Dog,
different kind of
Suki D-O-double-G with Shizzle and Nizzle, yo. Is it spelled double G? No.
I mean, that in a Scottish accent, that just was a thing of beauty. But yeah, we get like a kind of different vocal flair added to the release from these kind of guests. But I think like the biggest kind of like holy shit moment was on is it Zikronam?
Yeah, it's the huge Ozzy Osbourne-esque melody that like leads the front half of that track, which when it comes in, it's so against the grain but so fits the fucking music that you're just like, they need to just like I get the one. They just need to get a vocalist in beside the other vocalist that just does not shut.
Yeah, so we're getting like for the first time clean vocals, and I agree. It kind of leans into a kind of more traditional heavy metal or doom kind of type vibe.
It's very Black Sabbath. It's the thing I think we mentioned before, like Church of Misery. Even when Church of Misery do cover songs of kind of 70s British sludge songs. I'm thinking of, what was it? One Blind Mice, I think was the track that it did. And their version, you've got, and that's not how you sang in the 70s. So, but I would hear their version. I was always in the back of my head going, that if they just did that, and we get it here, and it proves to me that I'll retract my statement a little bit. Had this been on more of the album, that it would be less remarkable. Yeah, the placement is fucking perfect because it comes right after the midpoint, right after interlude, and it's the opening track. And when you hear that, you're just like, oh, the album just opens totally up. Yeah,
you do it. It definitely has a bit of an Aussie thing, a little bit almost kind of like Grand Magus or maybe like Paul Bearer or something like that. That kind of tone to it. But then the second half. Bale, the she vocalist, takes over, and his tone is like the complete opposite of that. It's just so corrosive, and it's got a really throaty kind of tone to his voice. I love the character of his voice on this. But the two two kind of contrasting styles work really well together, and it's a really cool balance that the track has. But whatever this band throw into the mix, you can guarantee they'll always bring you back to that core sound where you get tracks that are just like they throw in a track with a fucking trumpet or clean vocals. The next track that follows is going to be an absolute sledgehammer, and that last run of tracks on Pure Disgust are just like the perfect representation of the she sound. It is like packed to the rafters with the thickest of riffs, big droning feedback and thunderous drums and bile-soaked vocals, but you even...
It's 45 minutes that doesn't ever really lit up.
No, it doesn't
or get
really.
too repetitive in a genre which is prone to you try to recommend a song, you're like, I think it was 4 or maybe it was 6 because the songs sound the fucking same.
Yeah.
It is a remarkable thing they do in terms of just changing the pace a little bit, or like you see adding those elements that make tracks distinguishable on an album.
Sure.
That's really, really interesting, and it just feels effortless to them. Like there's like, this feels like a marked improvement over the last album, but it doesn't feel like they've we spent 3 years in the desert crap. Like, it doesn't feel like it. Kind of feels like they could have probably done it back then, but they've just had a little bit more time to work on what they're doing, maybe piece things together, try a little bit more, and bring in more guests. I think that's kind of where the guests aren't silly guests. I talk about this all the time. I hate guests that come in that do basically what the band does. It's the fucking point. They're actually really weirdly and smartly placed on the album. There's not too much beside each other, but they're not all in places that you would generally find guest musicians on an album. Yeah.
They also, we get a little appearance from the greatest of all percussive instruments, the cowbell, for just like a couple of bars at the end of ZBTC, I think the track's called. But it's so good. Like, that should be a staple on every southern tinged sludge album. Like, cowbell should be a must, and it just comes in for that little space. You're like, yes, that's exactly what I need.
Producers have a cowbell just sitting underneath their mixing desk just for a special occasion where they're like, you
100%.
know what, guys, you know what? Just take 2 seconds, listen to me. This might sound crazy, but right, you come here, right? This is the cowbell, and I just want you, just like a metronome, just click it. That's all I need. That's all I need. Right? Just go. Just trust me. Just do it for a bar of 4. On
you go. The last track on the release is the longest song, about 5 minutes 51, and that one kind of hears the band play more with kind of opposite ends of the tempo scale. So we get a really kind of slow start with this kind of doomy pace, and they build the track kind of up into almost kind of like hardcore punk kind of drum beat, but with this kind of sludgy hardcore riff, and it's fucking ace. Like, I really liked the push and speed on that last track. The energy of it was just fire. But in true She fashion, they go out on a absolute blaze of glory. The trumpet is back to add a bit of chaos, and they leave you with this really like slow monolithic riff, and there's a kind of low, really like caustic kind of vocal at the end, which I think must be one of the other guests because it sounds like a different tone, but it's just like an absolutely epic end to the album, and it just kind of puts like a final exclamation mark on it, and like the sound of the band, just like the sound of the band, the production on album 3 has also kind of leveled up for me. It's still very metallic and dense sounding, but there's a production value to this that makes the album feel a bit more crisp than Basement Wizard, and I think that really elevates those moments where they do give you a touch more melody and stuff on Pure Disgust. I thought the production was really nice on this. I think this is awesome. Like, I think this is an album that shows a band willing to push the boundaries a bit more. The foundations of the band are still rooted in the doom and the sludge. They haven't abandoned what makes them She, but the growth in the songwriting is clear to hear on this one, and the little additions they've woven into this release only make it more exciting to listen to. I feel like this album had more re-listen value because there's more variation to enjoy and kind of delve into on this one. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's a step up from the last album, which I really enjoyed as well. But this is like that next level for me. What about yourself? What else did you think of this one?
I mean, you used the word modish earlier on. I think it's the best accolade I could throw on this, to be honest, overall. It's an album that you kind of really do just want to go back to and back to again. They have, like, the beauty of this is, whilst they've kind of smoothed off some of the rough edges, this is still a very rough sounding album.
Yeah.
And the smoothness maybe comes in more of the guitar work that they've already mentioned themselves. Some of the riffs sound a bit slicker, but the grooves just sound fucking incredible. What I was struck by, and you mentioned it as well a little bit earlier, is I think the bass is a bit more prominent in the mix on this one. I just felt it was much more present, and as a result of that, there's more character going on with it. It felt like it sometimes picked up some of that heavy weight when the guitars were off doing something else, and it just sat purely in pocket just to deliver like stank groove. The guests, which I'm sometimes very critical of, because I think an album that has too many guests is one of those ones that makes me wonder how it's going to be performed live, especially when you get like, how's the trumpet going to be performed live unless they have someone on tour with them playing trumpet? You know, how is the Aussie-esque vocals of Zinc-Ronum going to be performed if you don't have that live? I'm less critical of it here, to be honest, overall, because I kind of feel like even if you didn't get that melody and it was replaced with stank vocal instead, I could still groove that one. Yeah. Or you could have the audience, you could have the crowd fucking burn it, or for all we know, he can sing.
Yeah.
And just chooses not to.
Yeah.
It's a surprisingly crafted album. I think the attention to how the songs are placed, those little eccentricities that are kind of spiced throughout the tracks are the reason that these stand out. And just the flow of it overall, it's a 45-minute album that genuinely doesn't feel 45 minutes in a genre at times where you're kind of like, I know it says 30 minutes, but it feels like an hour and a half. I never got that. The production is wonderful. Those drums are live room sounding. But those guitars are so fucking thick. Like, at times, they sound buzzsaw thick. It's just kind of amazing. And vocally, I think he's better here, and I don't know if that's just... Like, I think this genre, the older you get, like a fine wine, you just age into your voice more. Or if it's just better recorded. Like, Bad Times, we talk about that, like the end groove riff, the vocals on that sound like fucking Godzilla's been given a mic in a karaoke room, you know what I mean? It's so heavy and so ugly and so monstrous, and it just has this the kind of tinge and tone all the way through. It does at times remind me a lot of Church of Misery, and I think we may have commented on the previous album something similar where it was like for fans of. I feel it more here, and that's more because we've had a more recent Church of Misery album where you can start to do the comparisons. But yeah, they're doing the Lord's work. I knew like straight away, like after, like, because like when the trumpet came in, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. But like that, when Ox God Blues kicked in, which is track 5, and I was about 15 seconds into that, I knew we were getting something special. It's a fucking amazing song. And the rest of the album just continued to surprise and delight. It's an album that never really loses its heaviness.
Yeah.
It stays consistently heavy, but it finds levels all the way throughout.
Yeah. And
that's smart as well. It doesn't overplay those levels. Yeah, I mean, I really liked the previous album. I think this one's better. So, let's get
agreed. So, scores for Pure Disgust by She. As we've both already said, last album was good. This one's that next step up for me. So I gave the last one a 4. This is a 4.5. This just feels like a much more interesting and rewarding album to listen to. Like I think I'll come back to this more than the previous one. What are you thinking yourself?
Oh, Dave, what are you doing to me here?
I don't know. What am I doing here?
What are you doing to me? previous album, you give it a 4. I think I joined you on that.
I think so.
4.5 feels right.
Yeah.
But I want to say this to the band. I think you are tantalizingly close to a 5-star album. Like, there's not much I like. It's not even I can mark it down. It's in a genre which I feel comfortable in.
Yeah.
I think you're so close. I don't know what it is that you will need to do to get a 5 from me, but I don't think you're far off it. And I'll know when I hear it. This is the fucking great album.
Yep. For sure. So that is She and Pure Disgust out on November 15th. Links below at the band to the pre-order. Check it out, have a listen, see what you think. Happy to hear your thoughts and opinions on it. If you love Doom and Sludge, then this is like a no-brainer. You have
fucking
to
love
listen to this.
beer, women, men. I don't
Deep
know.
fried foods.
If you like if you are right now sitting there going, I could go something deep fried, then you know what I'm going to say? Save your waistline and listen to the new She album.
Yeah. There it is. That is the review. Thanks for checking it out. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Fucking hostile. Don't know why.